That sounds good. Hey guys, here we are. Tom was completely out of the screen.
My bad.
That is the best way that we could have started off the MMA podcast, episode 61, with Tom Shoaf dying here. Didn't even let me give him his proper introduction. So let's try this again. Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, and I'm here with episode 61. And your future, I'm going to say it, it's going to sound biased, but your future BKFC lightweight champion, Tom, the gentleman of violence, the 21st century John L. Sullivan, and your local ninja, Shoaf. How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing beautifully. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. How are you? Dude, I'm so excited for you. Like, let's get right to it. Like, you've been vocal and vocal and vocal about not getting a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And they present you with this. Like, walk me through like how that came to be, and if you like what your reaction was to being like, are you shitting me? Like, it's this
So we had the reason I was so vocal is because we had been talking since like July.
Jeez.
And I got, in a 6 weeks period from the time we started talking to 6 weeks later, I got 5 different dates, 3 separate opponents, and then it was just, and then everything was just off the table. So it was really kind of frustrating.
Well, yeah.
So that was why I started to be so vocal about everything. And then finally they had reached out. We had reached out to David and started talking to David personally, to try to figure out what was going on, what the situation was, why we were being held off as long as we were. And, he finally said, like, look, like, I've got something special for you. We're trying to plan something. We're trying to figure it out. And, just give us some time and be patient. And that was it. That was September.
And you were still pretty vocal in September. Like,
right. Well, that was the thing. It's like I was vocal in September, and then they had called me and said, David had called me and said, hey, this is what's going on. Give us some time to figure this out. So I said, okay, not a problem. Well, 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later, I still haven't gotten anything. So, I had reached out and, was a little more vocal and whatnot. And sure enough, like 2 days later, because typical impatient me, they made the announcement. And this for me is just, it's a culmination of, to start with, the last year and a half of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I set off on a mission a year and a half ago to get, well, actually almost 2 years ago now, to get 3 wins at 155 pounds so that I could have this title shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had established for a long time that I can fight and I'm good at fighting, but I was doing it at the wrong weight class. And now
absolutely.
Now that I'm at the proper weight class, I believe that I'm one of the best in the world. And now I have an opportunity to fight the pound for pound best in the world. And I'm going to shock the world when I finish him. I'm going to beat that man. And that's what this announcement is. It's the culmination of the last 2 years of hard work and the last 15 years of my career. So it was that sort of feeling when they finally made the announcement. It was life-changing, to say the least.
Well, and I can't even imagine, because I was there for your fight against Julian Lane, your fight against Joe Elmore. You beat Joe Elmore. I'm sorry, even at the wrong weight class, you beat him. And I might be a little bit biased here, but I was there. I watched it, but those knockdowns, it would be like you'd hit him 10 times and he'd hit you once in the knockdown. Yep. But again, fighting at the wrong weight class, we've talked about this over and over, and I don't care if we touch on it again, but since going to 55 and finding that home, you've got a first round win, a second round win, a third round win. Mm-hmm. Suffice to say,
I'm going to finish Palomino in the 4th round.
4th round. Okay, everybody, get your betting betting books out. I don't even
Those
know
are
what
the
to
odds.
say. I can't bet in Florida. It sucks.
That's all right. Just download that app.
But what I really love about it is that not only are you vocal, but you've embodied the character a lot more recently, I feel like. And I'm gonna throw this in there and then we're gonna touch back on it. But you recently got your black belt, so congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
I know that means a lot.
Yeah.
And the work that
Yeah.
you're putting in. But I've got to talk to you about the back and forth that you did with Palomino. Those videos put you on a different level when it comes to the exposure because
Yeah.
he's playing into it. So what brought about you starting to make those videos? And like when you saw the reaction that he was doing, were you like, okay, I got him, like I'm in his head?
For me, it was just like, I think everybody takes Luis way too seriously. I think Luis takes Luis way too seriously. And, for me, it's like, I saw Bare Knuckle had reposted his video, and I just couldn't help. He looked like a dork. Like, so like for me, it was like, all right, like we're gonna be in this fight, like either way we're gonna fight. So like at this point, like it doesn't matter what's said. And I don't feel like I was being like over the top or like insulting or anything like that. Like I was being playful. But yeah, I don't fear that man. And when he responded the way that he responded, it was like, okay, like, see, like this is what I'm talking about. Like you take yourself too seriously, bro. Like, all right, then, if that's what you want to do, we're just gonna keep playing into this. And yeah, like it was fun for me. And and like I said, I'm in a point right now in my career where I'm 33 years old, man, and I feel myself getting better and better on a daily basis. I'm in an upward trajectory physically, mentally, emotionally,
Trajectory, yeah.
spiritually, all of that. And I don't fear that guy. Like that guy, like he may be pound for pound the best in the world. Great. I'm gonna beat his fucking ass. Like that's it. Like that's how I feel. He wants to take himself seriously and he wants to be, whatever he wants to be. Cool. Do that. Sweet. But on December 3rd, I'm gonna fucking finish you in the 4th round. That's what I'm gonna do.
Are you calling 4th round because I said 4th round, or did you already see the pattern?
No, well, that's been the pattern. As I won the first fight at 155 in the 1st round, the second fight in the 2nd round, the third fight in the 3rd round. I'm just going to keep it going. I'm going to put such an immense pace on that man that he's not going to know how to handle it. And he's going to run into so many punches that his body's just not going to keep up. It's not going to be able to keep up by the 4th round. That's what I'm going to do.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. What prompted the change in mindset? Like, what do you think you've done differently to kind of change besides fighting at the right weight class? Because we've talked about that over and over again. But you're talking about how you're in a different place, that upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely getting the black belt had to be a push in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, those years of hard work and dedication you're putting in there and knowing what it takes to get to that point. How did you change the mindset to start all those things going in that upward motion?
This is probably going to come off as like egotistical, or I don't know. It'll come off however it's going to come off. But I think you probably said it best, is like, I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm the type of person to always rise to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my opportunity to prove that I'm better than the best in the world. Like, I'm going to rise to that occasion. I feel like I've been rising only to the level of my opponents in my last handful of fights, because I've only had to train so hard, so to speak, because I know what those people are bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I also know what the best in the world is bringing to the table. And I think I've got more to offer. I think that what I'm going to bring to to this fight are things that he's never seen and never experienced before. I'm confident in that. And that confidence for me is something that I feel like I can now bring out and bring to the table and present to people. I can now talk that shit. I can now say these things. It's like, look, now I'm in a position where I'm going to fight the best in the world. You cannot tell me I haven't earned it or I don't belong here. And once I go beat that motherfucker, everybody who doubted me is going to have a foot in their mouth.
Yeah. And I want to talk about, some of the last people who had the confidence going in against Palomino. And of course, like right off the top of my head, I forgot everybody he's ever fought.
Well, he's fought Elvin Brito twice. He fought Dat Nguyen, Tyler Goodjohn, Isaac Valley Flag, and Jim Allers.
Oh, someone's gotta. And I love that you're doing that research because I've never met anybody. I've never interviewed a fighter who rattled off all, what is it, seven of his bare knuckle fights.
Yeah,
you're showing a dedication I haven't seen from you before. You're showing a different level, and like you talked about, everybody can watch this and say, "Oh, you're just blowing smoke," or "You guys are friends," and blah. That doesn't matter. Watching the fight, there's people I want to win here, and there's people I know are going to win here, and you're kind of changing that. When Ike fought him, was right. I think that was right before my birthday or on my birthday when he fought him. And I had just interviewed Ike about that fight. And the fight went the way it did. And I was like, shit. But Ike's even said, Ike's been through a lot and you've been through a lot, but you're also almost 10 years younger than Palomino.
Mm-hmm.
While in this game today, age isn't really seeming to matter anymore.
Well, that's because he's on steroids, but that's my opinion. I will backtrack and preface my opinion. I have no facts to back this up. My opinion is Luis Palomino is on steroids.
I wasn't ready for that, man. Jeez.
My bad.
Damn, you get a black belt. You just say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, bro. I'm okay at jiu-jitsu now, so like, watch out.
And bare knuckle, that's important.
Right.
I don't know, man. Some of the last bare knuckle fights I'm watching, I'm like, do you guys remember that there's no takedowns and there's no, we're hitting people on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just what's that phrase about marching to the beat of their own drum? They're doing that. That's what they're doing.
Well, and I know when we talked before, there was, Mendez came up. We're going to talk about Chad Mendez and how we thought he was going to skip the line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel bare knuckles putting more stock in you because they've kind of grown you up and introduced you in a new light to the world instead of just putting somebody in there like Mendez who has the name and came from the UFC? Do you feel like them putting you in this spot against Palomino is more so like your reward for moving up the ranks and doing what you're supposed to do?
I mean, I would certainly hope so. I feel like that makes the most sense in a perfect world, politically correct, excellent sort of situation. Yeah, that like I've paid my dues, so to speak. When I had gotten my third victory, I was the only person who was 3-0 at 155 pounds. And I was the only person with 3 finishes at 155 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I was still out of the rankings and unranked and, all this other stuff and nonsense. And, so I think now as it stands, Bobby Taylor's 3-1. And I think, what's his face? Tony Loco Soto is, I think he's 3-0 now. So I think there's a couple other guys that are 3-0. So I'm sure that there are a couple of people that are, right there in line waiting for their opportunity to take this belt from me as soon as I win it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to get back to the question, I would say that I certainly hope that they are taking me seriously as a fighter, but also as a personality, so to speak. Yeah, I've grown into the role and I've grown into the part. I've been loyal to this company since they started as a company. I was at the first show. I fought for the second show. and I haven't done anything else outside of jiu-jitsu since then. So hopefully, yeah, they're taking me seriously as a fighter and as a person, and giving me these opportunities because I've earned them, and hopefully they keep doing that. We'll keep this upward trajectory going.
Yeah. And we talked about that, you fighting on the second one. We've got BKFC 32 coming up on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've been quite a way. You've been fighting pretty consistently twice a year. Do you want it to be more than twice a year? I know you're itching to fight. We'll say best case scenario, and I'm not trying to be that guy. Best case scenario, you walk out a champion. You want to fight 3 times, or do you want to keep that twice a year just to stay busy?
That's a tricky question.
I know, because
I think where I'm at in my life right now, like I said, I'm 33 years old, and I can only do this for so much longer. And I'm in a really good position right now, and I can just feel myself getting better. So my goal is to be as financially stable as possible when I can't do this anymore, without selling my soul. So I would like to take the right fights for the right money and be as active as possible. And if that means fighting 2 times a year, 3 times a year, maybe even 4 times a year, depending on the damage I take or don't take, things like that. Anything is possible. But my goal is activity. I want to be as active as possible. And if I can rally up a handful more fights over the next 4 or 5 years, that would be a beautiful thing. So yeah, let's aim for 3 fights a year and go from there, because 2 fights a year is just not working out, man. I'll tell you what, this whole fighting once every 6 months thing, once every 8 months thing is really, it's for the birds. I can't do all that.
Well, how tough is it to keep that mindset when the fights are so spread out? Because obviously, we talked about you being vocal and still training, and you competed in a grappling competition and won.
Mm-hmm.
You screwed up your 1, 2, 3 with that, but doesn't count as bare knuckles, so we're all right.
Right.
How hard is
Well,
it
I
to keep
finished
that
that one
mindset?
though.
Yeah, exactly. First round.
Man, it's tough to be in a competitor's mentality when you don't have anything to compete for.
Mm-hmm.
I will actually say that I am grateful for the consistent push back for this most recent fight, because I never stopped training since July.
Mm-mm.
So, because I knew that phone call was going to happen. I knew eventually we were going to get a fight. I knew something was going to come through at some point or another. There were 55ers on every fight card leading up until our fight, so I knew it was going to happen. So I just stayed in the gym. I stayed training. I stayed active. I did a lot of maintenance work, just kettlebells and dumbbells and cardio and just basic nonsense and shenanigans to make sure I was in good shape when I was ready to start camp. And now I'm starting camp, and I hate to sound like this guy, but I've never been a guy to start training camp with a 6-pack. And I started training camp with 6-pack. I started training camp in the best shape of my life, the best shape I've ever been. And that's what I mean by I'm on this upward trajectory right now where I'm in such good shape, and I'm able to train so hard and train well, not only hard, but train well.
Yeah.
That it's absolutely changed my mentality as far as my confidence and my readiness for this fight. But that has been because I haven't stopped training really since July. I've been constantly working. So to get back to the question, I don't like taking a lot of time off, and it's hard to have these long breaks in between fights. But it has certainly worked to my benefit most recently.
Yeah. And I love that mindset, like you're talking about, walking in with a six pack. And you did say the cliche thing that I hate it when fighters say, I'm in the best shape of my life, because just once I want a fighter to be like, I'm in the worst shape ever, and then go out and destroy somebody and go, I mean, whatever.
I'm sure Roy Nelson's done that once or twice.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, I ate 45 cheeseburgers before this, and then I just overhand right in.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Speaking of
But
45 cheeseburgers,
I
Ben
I hate to
Rothwell.
be the cliche guy and say that, but honestly, man, that's how I feel. Like I get in the gym and I work with Pops, and we'll crack mitts for 40 minutes, and I mean crack mitts, and I feel fine. I'll go. We've got a mountain here. It's called Mount Scott, and it's 1,500 feet. It's 3 miles, 3.25 miles uphill, and it's excruciating. But I'll go run that mountain, and then I'll run right back down that mountain, and I'll do it in less than an hour. And then I'll go hit other like 5 mile runs that are nothing. I'll blow through them. So like I'm like I said, many moons ago, I started throwing kettlebells around and going doing to a like a CrossFit Olympic lifting type gym and doing different exercises and stuff with this guy Carlos, who's pretty fantastic at what he does. And so just physically I feel differently. I'm bigger, I'm faster, I'm stronger. I still weigh 168 pounds, so like I'm coming into this fight just so much different. The Tom Shoaf that fought Bruce Lutchmedial back in April versus the Tom Shoaf that's going to fight Luis Palomino for the title in December are going to be two completely different people. And that's what I mean by, I'm in the best shape of my life. You're going to see the best version of Tom Shoaf. And that's why I come off as confident as I am when I say that I'm going to finish that man in the 4th round, because I'm going to.
I'm gonna freak out when that happens. I'm not gonna lie. Again, everybody's gonna be like, it's biased, but whatever, man.
Let it be biased. So what?
Yeah.
Be biased.
Show me a
Who
journalist
gives
who
a
doesn't
shit?
have
You
some
can be
bias.
biased and still be right.
This is true. You should put that on a t-shirt. You can be biased and still be right.
I might.
I love about it because it is a cliche thing, but it's believable. We've talked, we've been documenting, this journey you've had in BKFC, ever since the first moment I met you backstage and I watched 6 people try to fist bump you and Julian. And I'm just watching everybody, and I just in that moment I was like, aren't you tired of people doing that?
Yeah, man,
Like,
my fists hurt.
you're looking at your hand, it's all.
Yeah.
But from that moment, like, you were Tom Shoaf who liked to get hit and hit back. Then it was you were hit, get hit big. That was the Elmore fight. And then all of a sudden, Tom Shoaf, it's not that you didn't want to get hit anymore, is that I think you were just done getting hit.
Yeah.
And you started to change your head movement. You started to change the way you fought. And not so much that you changed completely as a fighter, but you evolved. And I think that's why it's more believable to think that you really are coming in as the best version of yourself. Because those last 3 fights, there are people who are going to pick on the people you fought. Oh, they're not the top 5. They're not. Doesn't matter. Anybody can beat anybody in a fight. We've learned that time and time again. And all it takes is one slip up, one miss for a counter punch to hit, for the right punch to hit, for anything. I keep thinking of like kicks and everything, but I'm like, we're talking about bare knuckles. So none of that matters. You can't go for that guillotine. I know you want to, but it's believable when you say those things because you've been showing it over the last 3 fights. You haven't just been the same Tom Shoaf for the last 3 fights and been like, well, I'm just fighting in my right weight class, so now I'm better. You said you're 168, cutting to 155. That's not a bad cut. And we're a month out today.
Right.
So it's not a bad cut. And I feel like you were fighting at 170 because you thought you needed to fight at 170.
I was fighting at 170 because I was tired of cutting weight, man. I was fighting at 170 because it was just It was just easier for me. And I mean, as a kid who grew up, a kid who started fighting because of the Ultimate Fighter, to get a phone call and say, "You want to fight Julian Lane?" Like, yeah,
I want to bang, bro.
Yeah, let me bang, bro. Exactly. Like, let's go. So like that, like, yeah, that was a great opportunity for me, just, for me, just to say I did it. I thought I got fight of the night to get over Paulie Malignaggi and Artem Lobov when I fought Julian Lane at 175 or 170 pounds.
Mhm.
So like that's something that I can share with myself and my grandkids, and that's a cool story for me.
That was my first bare knuckle fight. Like that event was.
Well, I'm glad. I was glad I could be your fight of the night, Cherry. I'm glad I could do that for you. But yeah, a lot of my evolution over the last 2 years has been my move down to Oklahoma. I moved down here in December of 19, so almost 3 years ago, and I fought Joe Elmore. Joe Elmore was my first fight after I moved down here, and I fought him on the September 11th show of 2020.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the evolution, so to speak. You could see the punch output, you could see the intensity, you could see the sort of style that we wanted to bring to the fight.
The grit.
Yeah, the grit. Yeah. But the lacking of head movement. And then when we made the right move to get down to 155 pounds, I was a little lighter, I was a little faster, I was able to do things a little better. You started to see that head movement showcase a little more. You started to see the combination showcase a little more. And, I like I said, now I've had another 8 months to prepare from April to December. It's 8 months, so we've had a lot of time to improve, a lot of time to advance and get better. And that's what's made the biggest difference over the last 3 years of my career, has been the move down here to Oklahoma and getting back with my original boxing coach. And the fruits of those labors are going to be on display. That's for sure. Like I said, we're going to see a whole new version of me. It's going to be
beautiful. Love it. Just because every time I look at your Tapology page, it's you without a mustache. I'm gonna have to put a link to that into the thing.
That's a bad one, man. It's one of those terrible. I think I was like 19 or 20 in that picture. That's a tough one. Get the fuck out of here. Go home. Go home. You probably are home.
I am home. Oh my God. No, yeah. It's funny because
those were the old days. That was your local ninja, Tom Shoaf.
Yeah. Well, and you, like you said, you've evolved and the nicknames have evolved, which is something that normally doesn't happen. Once you get those nicknames, and some of them, we're going to talk about some nicknames that have bothered me. Like Hendo bothers me because Hendo works when you just call him Hendo. But when you say Dan Hendo Henderson, it just sounds stupid.
I agree.
DC is another one. DC on his own, fine. Daniel DC Court, no. I didn't need all that.
Yeah. I agree with these. These are good points.
As much of a shithead as he's been lately, John Bones Jones works perfectly because you can say it all together.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Now, since you said that, I would like to comment on your little scroll thing here at the bottom of the screen.
Is your name
that doesn't play out well. Tom, Gentleman of Violence, Shoaf. No, sir. It's the Gentleman of Violence, Tom Shoaf. Come on.
Hey, look at that. Quick fix. Dude, I had an episode where I spelled somebody's name wrong, and I felt so bad because I had done all the research, and it was just one of those quick moments where I'm like typing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I was like, his name is spelled wrong.
Oh, well, did you edit it before he noticed it?
Yeah. Let's hope so. It didn't come up. I was just like, da, 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 put the banner away. Oh, look, it's back.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to do the behind the scenes stuff, and that's the stuff that nobody sees, and that's why nobody sees it.
No, I'm pretty open. Like, I think one of the funniest shows I've had to date was Lorenzo Hood. Sorry, not Lorenzo Hunt. That's a whole nother. Man, he has said some weird shit lately. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lorenzo Hood and I did an interview, and his phone battery died, and it was so good that he was like, "Hey, man, can we pick this up tomorrow?" So I just edited the two shows together. Well, one is night, one is day. He's wearing different clothes, and when I edited it, I thought I was being genius by cutting out the dead space.
Mm-hmm.
No, it just, I was like, "Hey guys, so sorry about that," and everyone's like, "Sorry about what?" There was nothing in between.
Well, why'd you bring it up, Matt?
Because if you don't find the fault, like, listen, jiu-jitsu is a perfect example.
Okay.
We had a brown belt who's now a black belt at my academy who literally every time we rolled would just chuck me, like sweat me like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a good 50, 60 pounds on him every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just bothered me over and over. And I keep rolling with him and it kept going. I was a white belt and I couldn't understand why I kept getting thrown. And then one day I was just like, damn it. I was like, why does this keep happening? And he goes, easy. He goes, when you get to this position, he goes, you do this 3 times. You lean to one side 3 times. He goes, and on the 3rd time, I sweep you every time. Had he not pointed out the mistake to me, I would still be doing it to this day.
Okay.
But you better believe the next time we rolled, I went 1, 2, and I threw all my weight to the other side as he tried to do it. And I was like, okay, it's good. Like, you've got the black belt. I'm borderline. I'm safe to say borderline purple belt. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So now I can't challenge you because you're a black belt and there's a respect thing there. But I've also got some weight on you, so it'd be kind of offset.
I'm gonna pause you right here, and we're gonna take a left turn. Left turn.
Left turn.
Who the fuck told you couldn't challenge black belts?
So this has been something. There's a school of thought on this. So
Please educate me.
Yeah, so I'm never gonna walk into somebody else's academy and pick out a black belt and run right
But
up.
we're not talking about somebody else's academy. We're talking about your academy.
Oh no. No, I've definitely called out black belts.
Okay, good. Yeah, because if you can't call out the black belts at your academy, you need to find a new academy.
Oh no.
We have a pretty general rule, and it might just be because everybody loves beating up on Derek, who is our like head black belt. Everybody likes beating up on him when they get an opportunity, which is far and few between.
Mm-hmm.
But we go after that dude. Like every time we roll with him, it's like, no, I'm gonna take something home with me.
Yeah.
And ever since I got my black belt,
now everybody's
like as a brown belt, people are like, nah, man, we'll just roll, we'll flow, it'll be cool, we'll have fun. I got that black belt, and now it's now I think we're just starting a new tradition. Is once you get promoted to black belt, now we get to fuck you up.
No, and I think that's true. That's true from white to blue as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like because as a white belt, you start to get the confidence, and you're like, I'm starting to get good at this, and you get your blue belt. And the next time you roll with those same people, they destroy you.
Yes.
And you're like, what was that? They're like, yeah. So before we built up the confidence.
Right.
We built up the skills. We did all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now you got to do it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is it keeps you honest as a competitor. And when you have a competitor's mindset, you're able to teach competitors. And that's one of the the beautiful things about my gym, particularly, I'll toot our horn for a second. Alpha MMA down here in Lawton, Oklahoma, is every single person in our gym competes. Everybody's a competitor. All of our coaches, all of our staff, everybody's a competitor.
And that's not very common.
No, it's not. But we all, there isn't a single person who is in attendance, and we've got 250 plus members now. Every single one of them has competed at one time or another. And and they get all of their instruction from people who compete. All of our black belts, all of our brown belts, all of our purple belts, all of them.
That, by the way.
All of our instructors, they're all competitors, you know, and it gives us an advantage. It really does, you know, and having that mentality going into anything, you know, is advantageous, you know, just to
toot your own horn.
Well, yeah, of course I want to toot my own horn, but to have a competitor's mindset, you know, to get back to the white belt to blue belt and us getting the brown belt, or I should say the brown belt to black belt scenario, is we're not allowed to rest on our laurels or whatever when it comes to, okay, like, yeah, you got your black belt, you're done. No, you're still on the mats, you're still working, you're still training, you're still busting your ass, and the rest of your team is here to keep you honest, because you're still a competitor regardless of belt rank. It helps with the mentality, you know, as far as being a competitor. It helps you always have that edge and always be ready.
No, and there's something I've always said, and I know it's not my phrase. I'm not saying I came up with this, but I feel like as a black belt, every black belt has forgotten something that a white belt just learned. And I know that sounds like a weird thing. It's not that you've literally forgotten it and that it's completely foreign to you, but it's something you haven't, you know, a different kind of mindset. You know, we'll train with some new white belts, and the first thing I'll say to them is, "Are you a wrestler?" Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm like, no white belt should be able to manhandle me like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you know, there are some things that the body just doesn't forget, you know, regardless of how long you haven't been there. But yeah, to get back to what you said, that we have learned, that was probably one of the more intimidating things about getting my black belt. Was not only did I get my black belt, but I got my white bars as well, because I own this facility. I'm partners with in ownership with this facility. So I'm now professor, which means that I'm on the mats, you know, 5 days a week instructing, which means that I have to have a library of jiu-jitsu in my head. And so now it's forcing me to go back and start studying all of the things that, like you said, I'd fucking forgotten about. There are positions and moves and sweeps and submissions that I'm just like, holy shit, it's been years since I've seen that, you know? But going back and diving back into that history, so to speak, and relearning those things and redigesting those things is crucial when you are, like I said, in being a teacher, being a professor and an instructor, but also when it comes to competition. The more tools you got in your toolbox, you know, the better off you're going to be. So having that realization was humbling, but it's necessary.
Oh, absolutely. And if you don't notice, I fixed the scrolling marquee once more.
Oh, I noticed, but it's still it's still wrong.
It's still wrong?
Yeah, it's supposed to say the gentleman of violence, Tom Shoaf.
Oh, see, listen, your nickname's in the middle there, son.
I said that 10 minutes ago, but you were so confident in your quick fix that I just let it go.
Oh, okay. Listen to this guy calling me out of my own damn show.
Hey, bro, someone's got to do it.
Oh my God. Listen, man.
Hey, you get the black belt, you can just say whatever the fuck you want, bro.
Anybody watching this, go back and watch episode 49 I did with Philip Leitz, because we talked about a different kind of mindset when it comes to the black belt. Because I read an article that was like, you should never, go up to a black belt. You should never do this. You should never do that. And I don't agree with that in a sense. Like, I would not walk into a stranger's gym, pick out a black belt as a blue belt, and be like, yo, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different level of respect. But
yes,
at the same time, I don't think, like, if the black belt looks at you and goes, you want to go? Yeah.
Because the black belt should be able to beat your ass. Like, and that's the point. Like, that's the fucking point. Is like, you don't get your black belt, and then people go, and then you're like, all right, I don't have to fight anymore. I don't have to do jiu-jitsu anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, no. Like, as a black belt, you should be able to smash everybody on the mat. And as a black belt, this goes back to like the old school fucking Bruce Lee days, like the gym challenges and stuff. But if anybody comes into my gym and gets on the mats and says, I want to go around with you, you better believe I better be ready to fucking to prove my gym's worth. Like if I can't go out and fucking compete, like, what good are my students? If I can't go out and perform, like, who's going to believe in my techniques? Who's going to believe in what I'm teaching? That was the whole reason I started fighting to begin with. I've told this story a handful of times, but I'll tell it again. I started fighting because I wanted to be a coach. Like, I had a fight. Like, so I started fighting because I told people I was a fighter. And then after like 9 months, they were like, when are we going to see you fight? And I was like, oh shit, I should probably do this. So I had a couple amateur fights, and I loved it. But I realized that, like, unless I do this and like learn it, that nobody's ever going to believe me if I try to coach them or instruct them. I need a name. I need a resume. And then people will start to follow me, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So that was why I started my career. It just so happens that I've built it to this beautiful point that it's at right now. Like, I've been incredibly fortunate and blessed in that sense. But the goal was never to be the best in the world. The goal was to be a great coach. And it just so happens that I'm going to be the best in the world in the process. But the reason I have to go through this and the reason I have to go out and compete is to prove to my students, like, look, I've done this. I've been there. You want to fight MMA? I've done it. You want to do kickboxing? I've done it. You want to do bare knuckle boxing? I've done it. You want to do gloved boxing? I've done it. You want to do jiu-jitsu tournaments? I've done it. Mm-hmm. You want your black belt? I've got one. I can show you how to get there. I've got the map. And that's the point. Like, you need to be able, as a coach and as a black belt, if anybody comes into your gym, you need to be able to smear their fucking face with the roadmap of jiu-jitsu. And that's the point, bro. And I get that people aren't just going to jiu-jitsu gyms and challenging black belts. And as a fellow jiu-jitsu player, you're not just going to go to some new gym and call out the black belt. Like, that's a very disrespectful thing to do, and 99% of people aren't going to do that. But there is that 1%. 1% of people are fucking stupid, and they'll show up. And when that time happens, you better be ready. It's just plain and simple. So that's my mentality on it. Is especially in our own gym, like, we're a gym full of competitors, and our job is to keep our competitors honest. You keep them honest by smashing their fucking asses.
And I'm just gonna bring up something. So, if you look at the history of Florida, I'm not going to say these are the only 4 black belts that really started it, but there's 4 crucial ones. You've got guys like, Rob Kahn. I'm just going to use their names because we're already talking about professors. Rob Kahn. We're talking about Ricardo Laborio. We're talking about my professor, Professor Mike Geary. And then there's Professor Ross Kellen, who's probably been in it the most. He actually has a fighter fighting in BKFC, Jessica Borga, who's fighting on Saturday. He did a class with us last week, and he said when he rolls with anybody as a black belt, he looks at them and he goes, all right, what position do you want? Any position you want. You want the back with hooks in and your hand around? Go for it. And he said for him, he goes, it's a difference because if we start rolling, I get to where I want to be. I'm not learning anything. You're not learning anything. He goes, but if you put me in the most uncomfortable position you can find, I'm going to get out and I'm going to be better because of it. And so are you. And I was like, that blew my mind. Can you imagine somebody coming up and just going, yeah, just put me in a rear naked choke. All right, now we can start. Like, bump.
Well, again, yeah, man, that's our job as professors, as black belts, man, and just as coaches. Even if you're not a black belt, you're just a higher belt. Your job as a teammate and as a partner is to help your teammates and partners get better, because the better they get, the better you get. So as a purple belt working with a blue belt, you should let them get that armbar. You should let them get that triangle, that rear naked choke, and then you should fight out of it, because then they have to fight to finish it.
Yeah.
You work on your defense, they work on their offense, and you both get better. You should flow through these positions, and you should allow these things to happen. That's how you get better at the sport. That's common sense to me.
Yeah.
That it boggles the mind when you see people just smash on people who are not as good as them because they can. It's like, nah, bro, you just like, knock that off. Like, you're not getting any better. He's not getting any better. So yeah, whoever told you that, that's exactly the right mentality. Like, that's how you get better.
Yeah. And what I love is that a few months ago, I had situations where I tried to put myself in uncomfortable positions, and I had 2 5-minute rolls, and 8 of those 10 minutes, I had somebody on my back. And I didn't get choked out either time.
Well, good. You know,
I like to hook the right leg. When you go for that right hook, I'll hook it and lock it down. And I'll just, every time you turn, I just turn with it. It makes it very uncomfortable. And it's one less thing. So every time you get it around my neck, I just turn, and it puts pain on your leg. So you let go, and I'm like, okay. But I felt good about that, because it was a position they tell you never to be in. Like, don't be there.
But the point is if you're there, you can survive. And that's really what jiu-jitsu is all about. You know, like in the grand scheme of things, it's if somebody bigger, faster, stronger, more powerful than you attacks you, you can survive regardless of situation or scenario. That's the goal of jiu-jitsu. So if you can let somebody play on your back and, for 8 of 10 minutes and not get submitted, you're doing jiu-jitsu right.
That was me tooting my own horn. And let's talk about the fact that you've got an upcoming BKFC lightweight title fight. And 90% of our call has been about jiu-jitsu.
Nothing wrong with that, dude. Like, we like what we like. Like, that's what this podcast is about us. It's not about the fight, but we can make it about the fight if you want to.
No. And I just thought that was a funny thing, because I was like, the more we talk about it, I'm like, this podcast has been a journey of my jiu-jitsu as well. Like, it literally has, gotten to the point where when I started.
Take me on your journey, Matt. Show me the world.
I'm not Aladdin.
Lies.
I don't have a magic carpet. I know you have some magic grass, though.
Yeah, it's floating around here somewhere.
Really, man, more than anything, I'm so excited to see this fight. We talked about, me being there for it. That is the plan. Now I'm just knocking stuff over and making loud noises.
As you should.
And I say that because I was, like I said, I was there for the Lane fight. I was there for the Elmore fight. Being in Florida, I was there. You were fighting the first night that I heard a fist hurt a skull for the first time. Like, actually, a knuckle hit a skull. And I was like, that is the worst sound I've heard in my life.
It's
all right. The next fight's on. Okay. What can And it's violent. It's barbaric, but it's calculated. You see the guys who just start wing punches. Yeah, you can wing punches and win a fight. Cool. You're not going to win the next one doing that.
Right.
You're not going to win the next one doing that.
Right. Yeah.
You have to.
Barbarism only go so far.
Yeah. And you have to evolve yourself. And that's the whole basis of everything we've been talking about. It's the evolution of the local ninja to the 21st century John L. Sullivan to the gentleman of violence, Tom Shoaf. Not Tom, the gentleman of violence, Shoaf, as you
right, because that
nicely pointed out. God. It's so much fun talking to you. Like, it really is, because I feel like we just did an episode 6 episodes ago, and we were in a completely different place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were a brown belt and had no direction as far as what the next fight was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It was that was over when I was at Leonard's house, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And
Oh, Leonard.
yeah, old Leonard. I miss that man. Anywho, yeah,
Don't worry, we're all
6
gonna get
months ago,
together one of these days.
we have to. Well,
Yeah.
Florida will be it. He should be down there, man. I would be mighty surprised if Leonard and his wife weren't there. But anywho, yeah, it's been a wild 6 months, man. It's been a great evolution for me and for the sport in the grand scheme. There are a lot of great organizations out there doing a lot of great things, and it's just constantly growing and building. And I feel like now the BKFC is finally in a position where they can start growing their own champions and stop pulling in these guys that have done great things for other organizations. We're in a position where we can do our own thing now, and I think that's important. And I'm looking forward to being the face of the second chapter of the BKFC. That's going to be fun for me.
I don't mean to do this, but did you have somebody in mind when you were saying that?
There's a lot of them in mind, man. I mean, there are a lot of people who have come over who have done great things in other organizations who are getting paid really good money simply because they've done great things in other organizations, which I understand when it comes to marketing and business and all of that other stuff. I get it. But as somebody who's been with the organization from the first show and somebody who knows many fighters who have also been with the organization since the first couple of shows who aren't seeing nickels on the dollar of what some of these guys are seeing who have done 10 times more for the organization, it's heartbreaking. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're in a position now, hopefully, where they can start building some of their own guys, because we have had 30 plus shows, and we do have long-standing talented fighters like Lorenzo Hunt, Mike Richmond, Rich Doolittle, myself, Reggie Barnett. I'm sure there are a handful others out there that are
Ronnie
just
Bedford.
Elvin Brito,
Yeah.
Caleb Harris. There are guys out there that are talented, that are personable, that could be stars, that they're not really investing as much as they could into. But again, that's my opinion, and I feel like now that they've made the moves that they've made, they'll be able to juxtapose that with juxtapose, whatever that word is. Yeah, they'll be able to
Trajectory
opposition that with something
juxtaposed like.
completely better.
So just because it just happened last weekend, I've got to ask your thoughts. I have to take a deep breath before I even ask this. What were your thoughts on Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul?
I did watch it.
There we go. Apparently, not a lot of people did, because from what I'm seeing, like, not a lot of pay-per-view buys. And I was like, I wonder why. You fought a 47-year-old man.
Yeah, like Anderson Silva was great 5 years ago.
I still think he's great. He's just
You're right. But
you can only keep up for so long.
Yes, he's not a world-class competitor anymore. He was the GOAT, and nobody can ever take that away from him. But he's 5 years past that. And it's always fun to watch older fighters fight other older fighters, guys that make sense generationally, or guys that make sense in the age brackets, experience, things like that, like the Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. fight. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to go out there and beat the hell out of each other. They were just trying to go out there and have a sparring match, a competitive exhibition match, and like things like that. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see a fucking 25-year-old kid beating up on a 47-year-old man who used to be the greatest of all time. Yeah. Nobody wants to see that shit. Sorry. Like that. Rephrase. I'm sure there are people out there that do want to see that. As a fighter and as a fight fan, not interested.
No, and that's what's so fun about it, because now there's a video circulating of one angle or that punch that hits him. There's a punch that knocks down Anderson in the 8th, and it doesn't hit him from this angle. So as you see it, he literally goes like this, and he falls down, and everyone's like, whoa, but they're like, but from this angle, he hits him. And I'm like, well, then why is there an angle that shows him not hitting him?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a different punch. You know, I mean, who knows? With video editing and everything else these days, they can take one punch and, you know, put it right next to another punch and slice them together and be like, oh, it's the same. I don't fucking know, dude.
Listen,
I don't have a clue.
I'm all
I'm
for
sure
it.
it's just, I'm sure if I had to make a guess, it's for clicks.
Yeah.
Because they didn't make shit on the pay-per-view. So they got to stir up a bunch of controversy. So people click and they watch those videos. So then they get ad revenue and shit like that from those videos as opposed to their pay-per-view videos, because that's how the internet works now.
That is how the internet works. And I'm just going to say on conspiracy theories, just because I love Ron Funches so much. If you've never watched his comedy, he's hysterical. But he has a bit about conspiracy theories. He's like, you know what I don't trust? People who don't believe in any conspiracy theories. Like, not even one?
Yeah, not a single one. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. And I agree. Don't trust those people.
No. So, those are people not to trust. Wow, we went off on a freaking tangent there, but
that's okay.
What we do here.
That's why we're here.
It blows my mind, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but it blows my mind that in a month or by the end of 22, start of 23, the Gentleman of Violence will be a lightweight champion. Like, yeah,
it's pretty great.
Like that's mind blowing that that's a possibility.
It's a definitive. It's not even just a possibility. It's definitive. It's already been written. The stars have already aligned. I just got to go out there and do it. And as long as I continue to put in the work that I've been putting in, and then some, it'll be done. You know. So yeah, I'm gonna wake up Christmas morning with a nice frosty mug of some delicious hot cocoa, and you know, a tree with wonderful presents and some cookies and a big old shiny belt around my waist, and it's gonna be a wonderful 2023 for Tom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I take this moment every time. Give us who you're thankful for, any of the sponsors that have helped you get to this point, because here we are. We're a month out. It's November 3rd right now when we're shooting this.
Yeah.
Like, talk about who's helped you get to this point, and you know, the people in your corner that have literally brought you to this point.
Well, first and foremost, it'd have to be Coach P, you know, Pops, Andy Pierce. That man has been a father to me for 15 years now, and he has guided me in many ways. And probably the second most important way would be with my boxing career and getting me to this point that we're at, where I'm a month away from being a world champion. Secondly, it's going to have to be my team. You know, my buddy, my business partner, Derek, everybody that I work with and train with at our gym. You know, the people who help me out with my class schedule and my work schedule and stuff like that, so that I can get to training and do the things that I need to do when I'm supposed to do them. And then my sponsors, man. You know, Vodella, gotta give them a big shout out. Zach Dillard is the guy who runs that company. He's a very accomplished human being, but he also has an excellent clothing line. So he helps me out quite a bit. So I want to give him a shout out. Project Reset. That is a charity group that I work with for veterans, and they do so much for veterans. I mean, I don't even think that I could explain all of the things that they do, but they are a veteran-based organization, entirely charity-based, and they've been working with me recently. They are fantastic. Militant, a clothing brand that I've been working with recently, another clothing brand from up in Alaska. Want to give them obviously a shout out. Appreciate all the help that they've been giving me. Grit mouth guards, they help me out with my mouth guards. They're pretty fantastic. Imprint Roofing and Construction, it's my boy George. He he bought me some new boxing shoes, got me some stuff for training camp. He's helping me out. Yeah, that's my guy. But I guess the best way that I can describe it is, I just want to give a shout out to anybody and everybody who's helped me out to get to this point. This has been a long 15 years, and this is a nice place to be, and a nice thing to be able to put on my resume. And I'm looking forward to being the best champion that the BKFC has ever seen come 2023.
That was the right thing to say at the end there. It really was. So, the veterans thing I think is really cool, and I'll definitely want to have you send me some information so we can link to that, because we do have Veterans Day coming up next week, and I think that'd be a perfect tie-in for anybody who wants to donate. A veteran-based organization helping veterans, and that's something that we ignore way too often. We really do.
No, I completely agree. And I come from a military family, so for me, it literally hits home.
Yeah.
But it's if I fuck this up, I'm gonna feel like an asshole. But I want to say it's just operationreset.org. Could be operationreset.com, but it's one of those two. I don't quite recall at the moment. Either way, look them both up. Try to figure that out if you can, and just go from there. Veterans Day is next week, so keep those guys in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'll have you send me the link for it. I'll figure out if it's org or .com. I'll save you guys all the trouble of that. I know it's really difficult to spend those extra 6 seconds figuring out if it's an org or a .com. But want to thank my sponsors, La Barba Cubana, the amazing beard care. Fat Boy Jiu-Jitsu's got some amazing BJJ gear. At Tim Makes Knives on Instagram, makes some custom blades. He's an amazing bladesmith, a good friend of mine. And then there's Bertzo's Bake Shop. I made it through all of that, and I get to the last one. So if you're in Orlando, some amazing treats. And then I want to shout out to the newest sponsor of the show, the Concert Junkie. Go to talesofaconcertjunkie.myshopify.com. Use the promo code Quiggin Out for 15% off your order. They've got a lot of really cool shirts, a lot that deal with mental health. They've got some that deal with the disdain of politics. I won't say the words that are actually on the shirts, but you can gather what it's going to say. There's some there's some that are really, I'd rather be at a concert, like funny things, but at the same time, like people don't realize that music really can change lives, and put you in a different place and put you in a calmer place, to be around those like-minded people. So I'm really excited to be, have them as a part of the show. But on behalf of myself, Combat Press, man, it's just awesome to talk to you. And again, I'm always worried, like talking to you so soon. We just had it a few episodes ago, but it was like a first time conversation all over again. We had all new things to talk about. We got the black belt. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on this title fight coming up, because I know this is something in the last 2 years that since I've known you, this has been the goal. This has been the goal. And I know everybody says, oh, it's the goal to be a champion. Not everybody has that goal, but you said, this is where I want to be, and I need to figure it out. You did it after the 2 170 fights. You said, this isn't where I need to be, instead of fighting at 170, and you literally could have just ended your career there. You could have kept fighting guys that were way bigger than you for no reason other than your own pride. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And you got right. You got the 3 fights, and 1 month from today, you're fighting for the BKFC lightweight title. So thanks, man, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Matt. And once again, just another beautiful conversation, man. This is a good time. I look forward to talking to you again after I win.
Oh, absolutely, man. So take it easy, brother.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Hey, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe, little bell, keep you up to date on all things Quiggin Out. Thanks again.